Hello, everyone. How are you all? And this is going to be a difficult interview because coming after Her Excellency and that fabulous, fabulous presentation that she just made, we have a lot of work to do. We have to keep the energy up. Your Highness, thank you for joining us today and for your ongoing leadership on these very important issues. We are here today to talk about two major legacy initiatives from COP28. For those of you who are very good at maths, you'll know that it was 1 year to the day today that COP28 ended in Dubai. We've had a year since. We're going to look at these two major initiatives. You've got the Altera Climate Finance Fund. We're joined here by Ambassador Majid Al Suwaidi, and the Global Climate Finance Center, joined by the Center CEO, Mercedes Vela Montserrat. So I'm going to start with you, Ambassador. Altera was introduced at COP28 as a 30 billion fund designed to catalyze private investment in climate solutions. What's the past year been like?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us here today. It's really great. And Your Highness, thank you for being with us. Her Highness has been an example of the leadership we've had in the UAE, and COP28 was also the result of that leadership that we've had from our President, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, and our leadership in the UAE, who've really had for a long time a vision that we need to have economic growth and prosperity, but we need to do that in a sustainable way. Altera is really an extension of that. The great success we saw at COP28 was the result of the UAE's diplomatic effort to bring the world together. And one of the key legacy outcomes from that, as we traveled around the world, was that we saw clearly that finance today was just not getting particularly to the places where it was needed most. In fact, if we want to bring global temperatures down, we need to bring finance up. And a simple stat that I learned about just the other day was that in 2023, we had 700 billion of investment across sustainability and development, and 0.5% of that went to the Global South. And we really need to transform that equation. Yeah. We need to see much more flows happening in the Global South, because that's where the bulk of emissions are going, and that's where Altera is really a game changer. Over the last year, we have, with our partners, Brookfield, TPG, and BlackRock, invested across 7 strategies, and most excitingly, we've created 2 new strategies with Brookfield and TPG, where we've seeded those strategies. The consultants told us we would probably get 1 times or 2 times our capital. We're in a fundraise phase now. We've got up to 9 times our capital, and we're still raising. And with BlackRock, we're very excited because we've been able to take one of their existing strategies, revamp it, and boost it. And so we have 3 brand new strategies that are focused on the Global South, and we think that we're well on track to flipping that equation.
So going well so far, but a lot of work to do. That percentage to the Global South is tiny, and we need to, and it's just incredible the work that you're doing to try and flip that, as you say. Mercedes, I'm going to go to you now. There was an iconic photograph last year at COP28 where it was you and our chairman, along with people like Larry Fink from BlackRock and the president of the World Bank and the CEO of HSBC and all of these big global leaders getting onto the stage at the Sustainable Finance Forum at COP, helping to join together to launch the Global Climate Finance Center. How does GCFC complement initiatives like Altera? You know, how are you working together? What does that all look like?
Thank you, Chris, Your Highness. Great work, first of all. So the GCFC was launched at COP28, Chris, with a very important objective in mind, which is about making capital, mobilize capital for climate finance and establish Abu Dhabi, the UAE, as a global climate finance hub. Our journey, that iconic picture that you mentioned, started with a key question from our leadership. How do we make climate finance available, affordable, and accessible? And while Altera has already made significant steps in answering that question. The breadth, Chris, of initiatives that were launched at COP28 meant that there was a need for a platform for accountability that will help move those initiatives from announcements into effective, tangible outcomes, while at the same time building an entire ecosystem in Abu Dhabi as a COP28 legacy. So the way GCFC complements the work of Alterra is by fulfilling two main objectives. The first objective is to serve as the secretariat of three main initiatives that were launched at COP28. Those initiatives looked at the entire ecosystem from your macro to the micro level of the economy. The first one, the Global Climate Finance Framework, that has been signed by 15 countries, accounting for 40% of the global GDP. One level down on the economy is the African Green Investment Initiative. This is a 4.5 billion initiative to be deployed by 2030 in collaboration with Etihad Credit Insurance, Abu Dhabi Fund for Development, Masdar, Aurora 50 on the ground, Africa 50 on the ground, and GCFC serving as the secretariat. And then finally, and not less important, this is more about innovation, and we just talked about it. We host the secretariat of Innovate for Climate Tech, which is about promoting venture capital startups into climate.
Because there needs to be solutions to invest in.
Correct.
It needs innovation.
While at the same time, we need to work on building the entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
We need to deliver on those initiatives, but building that ecosystem. How do we do that? How do we complement Alterra? By working on what constitutes regulatory frameworks, policies, transparencies, research and data, serving as a platform for collaboration and raising capacity building.
There's only one real way to solve this, and that's to collaborate, to work
100%.
together. And it's great to see the GCFC being a facilitator of that collaboration. I'm going to go back to the ambassador. De-risking investments, again, as we've just heard, in emerging markets in the global south is a significant challenge in climate finance. How is Alterra pioneering innovative solutions? It's all about solutions at the end of the day. What are the solutions that you're pioneering to unlock greater capital flows to the places that need? So you give me some specific examples.
So as we started this work, we brought together the sort of best financial minds in the UAE. Mercedes was one of those.
Thank you.
Who helped us with that work. And what we heard from that community, and we brought in the likes of BlackRock and TPG and Brookfield and many others in that discussion, was that if we wanted to scale, we needed to keep it simple. And so what we have done initially with our partners in Brookfield and TPG in particular, and with BlackRock, is we've done this sort of first-in, capped-out model. But this is our first attempt to try to say, how can we do something really simple that investors can understand, that then they can come in behind? And by the way, we've seen, as I've already mentioned, a phenomenal response to that. And we've gotten 9 times our capital. But we need to go further. We need to innovate. We're in this early phase where we're going to deploy some of these strategies and these models, learn and see how they work. And then as we go to the next phase going forward, we expect that we will get more sophisticated and smarter about how we do it. But the key thing is that I've seen is that we have seen that investors want vehicles to be able to invest in the global south.
Yes.
The key thing is when we've talked about risks and barriers, as we were traveling around the world in preparation for COP28, a lot of it was around perception. A lot of it was around constraints that institutional investors had about how they could invest in the global south. And what we at Alterra hope we can do is, by setting example, by taking that first step, we can break down some of those barriers, some of those misconceptions. UAE is a country of the global south. We know how to invest in the global south, and we feel comfortable doing so. And we know that when you invest in these communities, it makes economic sense, because that's where the future of population growth, that's the future of development, and that this is, by the way, an economic opportunity. If we think that we need $9 trillion in investment annually around the world to keep global temperature under 1.5, we often think of that as this major burden. But if we think about that as possibly a 9 trillion economic opportunity, a new economy, a new future economy, then Altera is not just a climate fund, it's a future investment vehicle.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's how are we investing in the systems of the future. And remember, a lot of people think of us as just an energy fund. In fact, we invest across 4 pillars. We invest across clean energy, that's true because it's 2/3 of global emissions, but we also invest in climate technology, we invest in industrial decarbonization. How can we do industry more efficiently and more with lower emissions? By the way, that's the bottom line of most of these heavy industries. And then sustainable living, that's covering water, agriculture, and many of these issues. The previous speaker was just talking about the rise of AI. The energy demand that is going to be required in the future cannot be met by current energy supplies. So we need these systems to be invested in if we are going to not only meet those energy demands, because they are far outstripping the supply, but do that in a way that is sustainable and is clean and ensures the future for our planet and future generations.
It's about sustainable investment. So it's about investing in a sustainable way. When you said there about the economic opportunity, I think it's a fabulous point. Someone told me recently 3 out of the 4 largest economies in the world in 2030 will be in the global south. And it's, you know, a really important place to be looking at today.
Can I mention, we had on Saturday our first annual meeting of Altera, where we brought together some of the best people from finance and from industry, and we had these roundtable discussions. Yeah. And one of our great UAE stakeholders, Musabbah Al-Ka'bi, who many in the room will know, he raised a simple point. If you took 1% of the largest G20 economies from the global south and raised those folks from a lower income to a middle income, what would be the impact on energy? What would be the impact on food? What would be the impact on water? What would be the impact on living? You're talking about hundreds of millions of people who are going to be moving in the coming decades into a better standard of living, and the energy requirements and the requirements that they are going to have is both an economic opportunity, but also one where we need to be thinking about how we do that in a sustainable way.
The world's greatest innovation challenge, as they say. And I know your partners are taking this all very seriously. I had the privilege of being in New York about 4 weeks ago, where I interviewed Larry Fink for Abu Dhabi Finance Week. And of the 40 minutes I spent with him, 15 or 20 of those minutes, he was talking about Altera and what you folks are doing here. And a week later, they announced their setup in ADGM. So they're not partnering with you from New York and it's all very remote. They're now coming here. They're now setting up. They're now investing in Abu Dhabi just to be close to what you folks are doing. So that's, you know, I think a very, very current example of how seriously your partners are actually taking this opportunity. I'm going to go back to Mercedes. We've got 30 seconds left, and usually I'm the one standing at the side of the stage squealing to get off. But I'll have one final question to you both, actually. What message, we've got a few hundred people here, would you like to convey to all sources of capital, private, philanthropic, public institutions looking to accelerate climate action? What's your message to these people in front of us?
That climate finance is the greatest investment opportunity of our generation, but it needs to be accelerated. And in order to be accelerated, we need to focus on 3 issues: impact, mobilization, and performance. So let me start quickly with mobilization. We need to come up and scale up innovative financial products. On impact, we need to ensure that every single dollar is being measured and come up with a clear outcome. And on performance, and it was raised earlier, we need to ensure that climate finance not only delivers on environmental, but also on financial returns, establishing itself as a mainstream investment strategy.
Ambassador?
I think that I've been really heartened by the response that we've seen from global partners, and particularly I think it's a testament to the work that Mercedes has done at the GCFC, but also ADGM in positioning the UAE as a global center. You mentioned yourself, we're seeing fund managers coming here to the UAE because they can see that here people understand that this is an economic opportunity. We need to shift the climate conversation from a conversation about what we're taking away from people to what we're giving people.
Yeah.
And finance can do that. We need to start to bring institutional investors and show them that these are great investments and that these are great opportunities. And I think that as we're taking steps forward, we're well on track to doing that. And I feel really excited about the future of that here in the UAE.
Right on time.
Right on time. Summary from me, this opportunity is big, it's important, it's the rise of the global south, it's the new energy solutions, it's the rise of AI and what that's going to mean, all by 2030 and right here in the capital of green capital. So thank you very much, everyone, and thank you
Chris.
to our guests today.